Welcome to Women of the World, a show which gives a voice to women from around the world who have chosen to make the United States their home. Our show believes in the principles written on and enshrined by the Statue of Liberty. Here's today's moderator, Dawn Tomlinson.
Hello, welcome to Women of the World. Today I will be your moderator and my name is Dawn Tomlinson. Our guest today is Lety Gillette. She's to the far right of me in the pink. Thank you for coming today, Lety. Our co-hosts today, I will let them introduce themselves. To my left.
Hello, my name is Comfort Dondo and I will be co-moderating today's show.
And I'm Nadia Jordana, and I'm glad to be on the show today. Let's talk with our guest, Lety.
I'm very happy to be here.
Welcome.
Welcome.
My name again is Lety Gillette, and I am from Guatemala. Actually, it's a town close to the Pacific Ocean that I was born, and it's one of my favorite places in Guatemala.
Well, we were talking before the show started, and you were describing that to me, and I asked if you would just tell us about those really early days in your life, and you were telling me how beautiful it was.
Yes, it was a beautiful place. My parents that came from a mountain of Guatemala, they established themselves in this town, and my father came from a big family and he didn't have that much, but he was a hard worker, very hard worker, and he started with a small shop making shoes. And when he was younger, apparently in the town that he was born, he was in school, and when he was in third grade, people from the city, Guatemala City, came to see him, and they found out that he was a child categorized as a genius, and they wanted to take him to Guatemala City, one of the schools, but his mother wouldn't let him because their father had left and he needed to go to work. So he had to stay, and I think he was around 10 when he started working, selling anything that he could. But he learned from a younger child that he could do things. So he learned to, that's when he learned to do shoes. And little by little, he became and had a big, big store. So he moved to this town where we were born, and he had the biggest shoe store, and he sold it to all the people who were there that had a lot of money. This was a beautiful town, a lot of cotton fields, cattle was there, but because it was a town that it was like close to the ocean, 90, 100 degrees, everything was green, a lot of fruits, a lot of everything.
So very prosperous.
Very prosperous town. I loved it. So he built a home for us in the country, and he had a lot of land, fruits, all kinds of fruits you can imagine in that town. It was just gorgeous. Flowers. He loved roses, so there were roses all over there. He had people taking care of the roses, and us kids, it was the best place to be.
So you had this very idyllic childhood.
I did. I was a very lucky child, and we were 7, 2 girls and 5 boys. And in the evenings, my dad, he auto-educated himself, selling books when he was younger. So in the evenings in this town, he would bring the chairs in the patio, and he would read to us. So since we were younger, we were introduced to reading.
Nice.
And he would read those Leon Tolstoy, Les Miserables. We thought that was normal, that he would read us those books. And so that's how education became so important for my father, because he didn't have the chance.
He didn't have it as a youth. Even though that opportunity was hanging there, he wasn't able to take advantage of it, and yet it sounds like he was a child prodigy, or at least extremely, extremely smart. and then self-educated himself later
Exactly.
on, and then brought that love of. Now, I think anytime you're denied that education and knowledge, you love it even more
Possible.
than maybe someone else might. But he certainly brought it
He
to you
did.
children, didn't
He would read the newspaper, anything that he could read to us. And my mother was always by him, and she could hardly read or write. But she was so fascinated to be with him, to learn all these things that he would say. So we learned a lot of things from him. And all our friends also would come and listen because they didn't have that opportunity in Guatemala. So it was an ideal place to live. Memories incredible. Every Christmas, every Easter, we will have a big celebration in our house. And music was also important to us. We danced since we were born, I think. So we had everything.
It sounds like a movie, you know, it sounds like something you would describe with the beautiful landscape and the ocean and this big house with all the land, fruit and flowers. I mean, it actually sounds like Sound of Music or a
To
film
me,
like
it was.
that.
And it probably
Yeah.
wasn't humongous, but for us it was big because we were 7 and we will, you know, the doors were, you didn't have doors closed because it's so hot. We would play outside. I would climb trees. The worst that we had, it was rotten oranges with worms. So we loved doing
That was your biggest
That was
disappointment.
our biggest. Yeah.
It's interesting. You mentioned that it sounds like a movie because I am from Zimbabwe originally, Southern Africa, and I was home about a few months ago, and I'd been in the U.S. for the last 15 years. So going back home, it feels like that. It feels like a movie because I have my mother's mango trees and pomegranate yard, hedge surrounding my mother's yard, and I just have to step outside and grab, you know, fresh mango, fresh avocado, and this is how we grew up. But it does sound like a movie after having lived in the U.S. for a while, where I have to buy an avocado for $4 a piece.
Yes. It hurts when you have to
So
pay that
when
much.
you're describing that, I
Yeah.
can visualize my own childhood.
And on Sundays, we will have dinner. Lunch was the main meal. So my dad would come from his store, and we all had a big meal, always chicken.
Always, and it was a Sunday dinner was the big deal.
Yes, at noon,
And always chicken.
always. And it was interesting because he was a very caring father, but he was strong. When we will sit at the table, nobody start eating until he will eat. And we do a little prayer, and nobody get out of the table until he was done. It was very, to me, those are memories that I will never forget that he gave us. But because he didn't have the opportunity to continue with school, he believed in giving us that to us. So when the first oldest went to finish 6th grade, that town only could go up to 6th grade. So he had to send them someplace else.
And he was successful enough to be able to do that.
Yes, yes. So he sent them to this other town, and he didn't like it because he was not with us. So he says, no, I'm not sending the rest away. So he sacrificed his store, that lovely house that we loved, and we went to Guatemala City because that's what we could continue with
Your
school.
education.
And that's where the good education was.
Yes. So we did. We cried. We all cried because in Guatemala City, we couldn't have the house that we had in this town. It had to be a little house, old, close. All the houses were close to each other. But that was a sacrifice that he wanted to do for us.
A little bit of a culture shock for the
Very.
change. Sure.
Yeah, very. So, and some of us were lucky to go to private schools to continue with school. I was lucky to be sent to a bilingual school, English, because how I got there, I don't know. But it was good. So I finished high school. My dream was to continue to law school. But in Guatemala, it's also similar like in Europe. You don't go to college for 4 years. You go to the universities directly to the whatever you're going to go for. So I grew up with brothers. My sister got married very young, so I grew up with the 5 boys and 2 cousins. There were 7 boys. They all talk about what are they going to be, architects or whatever. So I was part of them. I was going to be a lawyer.
So they had big dreams.
They had big dreams.
That's wonderful.
Did your father encourage that when?
For all of them, yes.
Yes.
But not for me. He wanted me to go to high school, finish high school. But when I finished, he said, "You're a woman.
Yes.
You can, you're gonna get married, and you're just gonna have kids, and that's gonna be the end."
That's the way it was.
That's the way it was. That's 70 years ago. So there was this private university that it was brand new in Guatemala City, and there was the second year, and one of my cousins, which is like my brother, married the president's daughter. So they needed a bilingual secretary. So he says, I recommended that you can do it. So I went, and he says, my cousin says, yes, you go, and they're going to start classes in the evening. So you can take classes in the evening at the university level. Right. So I did.
Did you enjoy it?
The first day I got there, I met my husband.
Oh.
So he was a Peace Corps volunteer, and his first assignment was at that university to teach biology. So we were introduced. But I really didn't thought too much about it, because in those days, Mormons were coming into Guatemala. And we were very Catholic. So we said, no, I cannot see this man because probably he's a Mormon.
Oh, you thought he was Mormon?
Oh. But then I look at him and I says, those pants, they look a little bit tighter than the Mormons. He's not in black. But I didn't pursue anything. But he came to my office the next morning and started talking every day. Finally, one day he said, there is a party this Saturday evening, and would you like to go with me? And I says, no, I'm not allowed to go in the evenings. And he says, how old are you? I was 19. And you cannot go at night?
Nope.
So the next week he came and he said, there is a circus that I'd like to take you, and I'll go ask your parents. So he did his homework. So he went to ask my parents for permission, and it was at 2 o'clock, and we had to be home by 4. He followed all the instructions. So months later, he asked me to marry him, and I said, I was surprised I said yes, because I didn't want to get married younger. But I did. He was very special. He had to ask my parents' permission, and he asked the Peace Corps the Peace Corps director, everybody. We got married. And
you got married in?
Guatemala.
In Guatemala.
Ah, not in the U.S.
No, because we were still at the university.
Okay.
But during these days, I guess I had to remember this. In the 60s, the problems in Guatemala started with the Civil War. Supposedly, the United States kept thinking that the communists was coming. And at the universities, all my brothers were at the universities. They were protesting, and bombs here and bombs there. They were dangerous days. They were very dangerous days. And one younger brother was involved. He became part of the groups protesting. But then we left, and we came to the States.
So what year did you come to the United States?
1968.
And did you marry in Guatemala before you came to the States?
Yes, yeah.
Did you have a big wedding?
We did.
I was wondering that.
Yes.
We did, and actually, when the reason I was brought up about this problems in Guatemala, the church, because the Spaniards, you know, that's what they came to.
Yeah.
They brought the church, and we were very Catholic. In the house, my dream house, my dad had built a particular room, like a church, in our house. That strong it was, but because the Catholic Church was so involved with the militaries, my brothers were leaving the church. So I was following like they were saying. So I left the Catholic Church. My parents were not happy, but when my husband asked me to marry him, I says, but I'm not marrying my church, period, the Catholic. So he was going to a union church in Guatemala for all denominations, English speaking. That's where we got married. So yeah, we had a big wedding.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So a year later, we came to the States. And my father kept telling my husband, when is she going to get pregnant? When is she going to? So,
Good Catholic father.
very. But we did have our first daughter in the States. And the reason my father, because he educated himself, he learned all the story of the United States. He knew so much that he would sit with my husband. He knew everything about things that I never heard about it. So that's why he was very supportive, except my oldest brother. My oldest brother helped him send us to private schools. And no, he didn't want me to get married to him because he says, we don't know anything about him. But
So a little wary, a
Yes.
little careful.
yeah, but no, he was okay at the end. And we have been married 51 years.
51 years, I think it'll last.
Yes, a long time. So I came to the States. At the beginning, it was very difficult because I was not used to. My husband comes from a Scandinavian family.
Yeah, and how much of a culture shock
Very.
was that?
It was.
What are some of the big differences?
Well, Scandinavian people are wonderful, but they don't like to be touched. Now they do. They're not warmer like we in Latin America are. You know, we hug, and anybody can come to my house. You know, they feed you anything. When I came to the States, it wasn't like that. And we lived with his mother, and I thought, oh my gosh, I don't think I like this. The food was different. We were used to in the morning with our eggs and black beans and tortillas and bread, and have a big lunch.
And because they were less demonstrative, did you feel like maybe they didn't like you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unwelcome.
Unwelcome. His father was, they were divorced, and his father was very warm. The Gillettes are more French, so they're more warmer.
Yes.
He was a wonderful person, so then he made me feel better. But then we came to Wisconsin because my husband pursued his career, his master's degree, and I took classes there too, French, English, advanced English, and I started working. And I started as a bilingual secretary because of my French.
Oh, not because of your native
No,
language.
no.
So you were a bilingual secretary.
Yes.
For what company?
In Richmond, Wisconsin, called Doughboy. It used to be Doughboy. And they had international. But I moved up several times. I guess I'm like my father, you know, we couldn't just stay still. I love my daughters. I stayed with them six years. But I wanted to pursue, so
You
I
were
took.
glad to be in the workforce.
Yes. And I took classes. They sent me to St. Thomas. They sent me several places. No, that company was bought up 4 times. And the last company that I worked with is called Bosch, German company. And I thought, oh boy, I'm sure they're going to get rid of me. That was in 2005. But actually, no, I got in a higher position. But since 1998, before them, I started traveling all the way to Argentina. So it is a men's wear because it's a packaging machinery. But actually, I never felt less with any of my customers than with some people, probably more than in the United States, like I said at the beginning. So that was my image working besides my family. And I loved it.
I'm very curious, while you're on that point, as a young woman working in those kind of areas where men are dominating, what was your experience over the years, like when you began your career compared to now?
Well, at the beginning, even before I started traveling, we had all our sales representatives from different countries coming to our company. And my boss always says, do you mind taking them out for dinner or something? I says, sure, I'll take them out for dinner. That's great.
Right.
But I always invited my husband. But in some, yes, it was, at the beginning, it was shocking for me. One time, one of my agents said, I told him, I'll pick you up at the hotel. He said, okay. I went to the hotel, and the receptionist says, oh, he says he's waiting for you in such and such a room. So I said, okay. I said, tell him I'll be there. Well, I had my husband. So we knock at the door, and he was shocked to see. I said, I want you to, this is my husband. He just didn't know what to do. He had 2 little drinks here, you know, waiting for me. But those first experiences, he never ever. Then there was the respect. I did have to let him know.
Teach them how to treat you. Yeah.
And after that, no, it was very. And
do you feel like, you know, it just strikes me that early on you had all those brothers and your father that you were so involved with, and there were more of them, more men in their family than women. Do you think that's what helped you later on?
I would say, yes, I would think, so, because I was used to men.
Right, exactly.
And then my 2 cousins that grew up with us.
You knew how they think.
Possible. So I knew how to, and my husband was nervous, you know, and I said, and actually I enjoy working more with men than with women.
Tell us more about that.
I don't, maybe my experience is because of my brother.
You grew up with your brothers and your father.
Yeah. And the respect that I did have to show some of my agents, but then after they knew where okay, this is, she is in business and this is what she's doing. And one of my favorite customers was in Guatemala, actually. And I used to go there 3-4 times a year. But I did a lot of selling in there, big companies. And see my family. I went to Guatemala 3-4 times a year.
That's wonderful.
Even before I started working, I said to my husband, I'm going there because this is my family.
Exactly.
And all my brothers are staying in Guatemala, but because thanks to my parents, that they believe in education, they are professionals and they are able to stay.
Yeah, because of that education, they were able to be professionals, be able to stay there. And
so your father's sacrifice was well paid off.
Yes. So we always, you know, he died at 62. He was young, actually.
Yes.
But his dream, I see it through my brothers. Their children are professionals too. My daughter, one is has a degree. She has a degree in law. My dream.
Exactly.
And the other one has a master's degree in physical therapy.
Nice.
And a lot of my nieces in Guatemala are already doctors too.
It's such a great story.
Yeah.
We have a few minutes to wrap up. Is there a really poignant or happy story that you'd like to share to just complete your life story here on our show?
Yes. As I said, my childhood was beautiful. My husband has been wonderful. And because of him, I came to the United States. He has supported me through my jobs, through going to school.
That's wonderful.
And we have had a wonderful life together. And
That's really great to hear. I
Yeah.
really love stories like that.
thank you. And we have great friends too. So this is our home. This is my home. And he loves Guatemala. We go to Guatemala a lot yet.
So
But
you
this
really
is
did
home.
become a global family.
We did. We celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary last year. We celebrated it in Guatemala
Oh,
with all my relatives.
oh, that
So
sounds
just
lovely.
relatives were like 75 people. But we also had a
Yeah.
get together here in the United States too, because
great.
we have a lot of friends. And my family went with us to Guatemala. They enjoy that too. So I have had a wonderful life.
Great story.
Wonderful life.
That's amazing.
Yes. Here in Guatemala and I'm here. And will I ever go back to live in Guatemala? Possible not, because my family's here.
Home is here.
Yes.
Home is here.
Home is here.
So it's been wonderful. Yes.
That's very, your story of success is such an inspiration. I think when young women see role models coming through and they're able to take something like not even speaking a language well, become a bilingual secretary and work her way up through the company. Lety, I would like to thank you today for joining us at Women of the World. It's been a pleasure to have you. I've loved hearing your journey and your beginnings in Guatemala and how you ended up here in our part of the country. I would also like to thank our co-hosts, Comfort
Thank you.
and Nadia. Thank you to the audience as well for joining us. We'll be happy to see you at our next episode. Looking forward to seeing you then.